Hello and welcome. I have already made a video about Unior tools in general and about Unior bearing extractor tools, and here I will talk about their bearing press set. I will show the tool, explain how it works, and then briefly discuss the pros and cons. So let us get on with it. Here I got this in a box like this. It's plastic box. I can open it, and this is the user manual that you will not be needing because you will watch this video. And what we have here are set of bearing press adapters of different sizes. They have the marked bearing numbers and dimensions in millimeters written both on the sets themselves and on the toolbox. Some of these come as only one part and some come as doubled. So you have two parts. This middle one is only single, the others from the top row are all double. And the working principle is very good. I have used the anti-seize paste or mounting paste on all the threads, and I've lubricated this mechanism with some lubricant to make it work better. It came bone dry from the factory, but that aside, the use principle is very simple. I will show it and demonstrate it and explain it. This is the tool, and we have adapters. And what also comes in this set is two plastic covers to prevent from causing any rubbing or any damage to any parts. And as far as I know, you can get each of these separately if anything gets lost or broken. So that's cool. And now let's try to install a bearing into our hub. Let's say I bought the right sized bearings for this hub and I wish to install them. So the first thing that I would do is to clean the hub before I install the bearing. Okay, it's reasonably clean now where I wish to install it. And I also want to make sure that the bearing is clean. Of course, on the outside, this one has seals, so the grease is inside, and on the outside I can make it wiped clean. Some of these bearings have these dimensions, the standards, marked, and some don't. And either way, to sleep better and to be on the safe side, I prefer to measure them. And that is what I will do here now. So I will take this bearing, measure its inner diameter. This is the downside of digital tools. This is 10 millimeters, not 9.97. The first figure is 9. It's confusing. So this is 10 millimeters on the inside, and let's measure the outside. This is 26 millimeters. Don't let the numbers fool you. 25.98. Okay, that's 26 millimeters. Okay, so now I know which adapter to use, and so I have 10 on the inside and 26 on the outside. That is this one. I'm looking for the closest match, and what is important is that the outer diameter of this adapter is not greater than the outer diameter of the bearing. I'm going to be pressing it in here, so I want this one to go in relatively easily without pressing hard, because it needs to push this all the way in. Unless I want to go only flush, in that case it doesn't matter. Another important thing is that this diameter should align with the bearing's inner diameter so that it keeps it nicely aligned as I'm pressing it in. That is perfect. That is what I'm going for, and this set provides the adapters for most standard bearings, or most that you will see on bicycles, either bottom brackets or suspension linkage or whatnot. So this is the adapter I'll be using, and this is the bearing. I almost forgot, by the magic of video editing, It is also important to have the bearing press against the outer race of the bearing. So not to be too small, like say this one, to be pressing only on the inner race, because that could damage the bearing and it's generally not a good idea. So no, you want to be pressing against this outer edge of the bearing. So that's why you need a tight fit without it being too large to not be able to press it in far enough. So that is the delicate balance, and why Unior have made so many of these different sized adapters into their set. Before you press in a bearing, it's not a bad idea to put it in a freezer so that it is very cool. It is very cool, like my videos. And that will allow it to shrink a bit so that you press it in more easily. So that's always a good idea. Here I won't be doing that for brevity. And after you've cooled it down, or while it is cooling down, you can take some mounting paste and smear it on the part where you are going to install the bearing. So what I'm doing here is making sure that the mounting paste is all around the sidewalls and against this, like a lip where the bearing will press against. This will allow me to install it more easily, and it will also prevent it from seizing for when I need to take it out, especially since this is a combination of steel bearing and aluminium hub. I will also take the bearing out of the fridge and lubricate its outer edge, because that's what will be sliding against the hub as I'm pressing it in. And the seals will prevent the anti-seize paste from mixing with grease inside. That is not what we want to do. We want to avoid that. So now I've done that. It's all prepared. And I can take the adapter and the bearing, and I can take this tool. To use this tool, we have this like a ordinary with threads lever. So that's nothing to write home about. It just has threads on the inside and it screws on. And I want to make sure that it is engaged so that all the threads are engaged. I want this protruding a bit because I don't want it holding against only a few threads and then cause any thread damage as I'm applying the force or the torque. So that's the first thing to note. So I'm using this. Also, I want to use something to prevent, as I insert it, to prevent this side from damaging the hub or causing anything, rubbing or burring anything. So I will use this plastic cover, and to prevent that plastic cover from being broken from too much pressure exerted by this, if it is narrower than the hub, let's check. It's close, so it could work in this case, but just to sleep on the safe side, I will take one of these wider adapters and slide it on, and then use this. I have a smaller one, but that is just too small for comfort. So I will use this side, and if I want to install the bearing here, I will insert this from the opposite side. Okay, and now I want to take the bearing where I've put some anti-seize over, slide it over this, take this one, this adapter, and slide it inside the bearing, inside this groove, so they are nicely aligned, and making sure now that it's all as close to parallel as possible. Next thing, this one has unlocked and locked position. When I put it into unlocked position, the threads go out, and when I lock it, you can see on the inside that it has these threads going in. So I will keep this side where it's marks written on the top, on the outside, unlock it, slide it over the tool, and then before I lock it, I will lift it up just a little bit, because I don't want these threads to engage while this is pressed against this, because I'm not sure how they will align with the threads. I don't want any damage or cross-threading, so I will keep it just a fraction of a millimeter up and then lock it up. And you will need to sometimes wiggle it a bit until it is easily locked out into the locked position. You can see it here. This is a mark and it's locked. So this is unlocked and this is fully locked. You don't want to use any force. Just be gentle and wiggle it a bit until it sits in place. And now it's set. Now I can start. First I will need to give it a few turns to remove any slack, and I'm always paying attention that it's kept as parallel as possible. So it started. Here I can see it started to push in the bearing, and I'm making sure that both parts are sitting parallel. As I'm pushing this in, trying to keep it as parallel as possible, and you can see the bearing being pushed in. So this is the part that I'm turning, the one that presses against the bearing. I don't want to force this to turn. If it turns, it's no problem, but I don't want it to force. I don't want any damage on the other side to this plastic adapter or to the hub. So I'm tightening it, and I don't make it super tight. When I feel the resistance, I can do it just a quarter of a turn or less more, and I'm sure that it's seated all the way. And then when it's done, before I unlock this, I don't want to unlock this while it's under tension. I will just gently unscrew it for half a turn. One turn, it's enough. And now I can unlock it and remove it. And without talking, this goes super fast. So now I can leave this off, remove the adapter, remove this part and the other adapter. And that's it, job done. Without talking, this is very fast, and the fact that they've made this so that you can slide it on and then just lock it without having to turn it around all the way until you've reached the point that you want, that makes it a very practical, very brilliant tool, very easy to use. And so it looks okay. It looks to be of decent quality. I'll see how it performs over the following years and add comments to this video, but so far I'm quite happy with this. It does the job. And the price, I'll also mention that for bicycle shops, I think this is a no-brainer, at least in my opinion, because it allows you to work very quickly and efficiently, and it does the job well. It costs about $250, something like that. I'll put links to Amazon affiliate in the video's description, or if I find my article about Unior tools with a list of their representatives, I might also put that link. And for home use, I am not sure. There are other methods of doing this. You can get away with using maybe some thread and building something like this yourself or improvising. That's always an option. In my opinion, the high quality steel tool and having these all adapters is also an option, because you can buy just these parts and get the adapters that you need for your bearings, so you don't have to buy the whole set. That's also one of the options. So whatever works for you, just be sure to, if you are doing something, making a tool like DIY, to make sure that it works nicely and evenly so that you don't press in bearings at an angle. That is another thing that I want us to point out, because some people try to insert both bearings at the same time if it has bearings on both sides. And I don't think that's a good idea, because it allows you, because of some wiggle room, to maybe start doing by having both of these bearings a bit at an angle. And so you start pushing them both at an angle. I think there is a higher chance, a higher risk of that happening when you're doing both sides at the same time. I prefer to do one side and then flip it over, again using those adapters, and do the other side. So one at a time. With a tool like this, because it has this quick release mechanism, it doesn't take much time. You just remove it and insert it from the other side and then lock it up. So I think it's safer thing, and that's how I prefer to do it. And that is the whole video. I hope I've been shorter than 1 hour. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in some other video. Cheers. Another thing that I wish to note, thanks to the ingenuity of bicycle parts and manufacturers, there are thousands of different patents. I wouldn't even call them standards. So even if you have a set like this, you will still need to improvise for or get even more specialized tools for some things like DT Swiss hubs, for example. They have their own set of presses, adapters and patents. So some things you might be able to do with this set. For some things, for example, for those hubs, you might need to get some more adapters, and that is life. That is cycling industry and bicycle mechanics. So I think this is a good balance, because the set is not huge and it doesn't weigh a ton, but you will still, if especially for a bicycle shop and even for home use, depending on what you are working with, you always have to buy more tools, special tools and so on. So this is not the universal like to cover the entire cycling industry, but it is quite good and quite useful and versatile. So I think that covers it all, and now I haven't forgotten anything. So now it's the end of the video. Cheers.